Welcome to Loleventvods. Watch the full game of today's LPL 2025 matchup.
To avoid a lot of that chaos, but as Fearless format allots these teams is you don't have to deal with Israel anymore, and there's a lot less safe hyper carry champions available to a player like 1xN now. I know you want to see the Jinx. If we're talking to Jinx, EDG playing a very powerful early game, it's a lot easier to punish that Jinx compared to the Israel. So maybe we'll see something like that come across as we are into the Game 3 draft. Pointed out, Bloxer, EDG take the blue side. The bans still don't change up much. We're still seeing Nocturne taken away, Callista taken away. We all expected the Skarner, the Victor again. So despite the fact that 20 champions are off the board, the bans really aren't switching up that much, and the Corki final ban pushes that logic even further.
Yeah, but it does leave the Rumble available. It was on the ban table pretty much constantly. We've seen that, and it was on the ban table throughout the first two matchups. So the second that you leave that Rumble available, EDG more than happy to first pick that one. And it's such a strong champion at the moment. Could just stat check you in its current format and leaves you with a very tricky lane matchup to try to pick into it. Looks like ThunderTalk, though, they are going to head towards a more, hopefully, teamfight-oriented composition. If they do end up locking in this Sejuani, it's just such a great basic standard draft piece that you can put into almost any composition, but really flourishes with a couple other melee champions who want to go and fight and buy space for that carry for the ADC or the mid laner to really be able to deal their damage without worrying too much about having champions getting on top of them.
Let's see some melee champions next to that Sejuani, though, if you want to really accentuate the early game effectiveness of this champion with those stun stacks. Ooh, and here we go.
There it is.
We were waiting for it. The blocks, so you pointed out before we got on the show. When were we going to get the Setab Akali? This thing is undefeated across Demacia Cup and LPL so far.
It's been that pull-out for Setab that's just like, I need a sort of ace up my sleeve. This is the one, and it's been incredibly impressive so far. Akali, very tricky to actually play on this sort of stage with teams who are able to communicate with each other so well and play around Assassin so effectively. It's often very, very tricky to be able to actually make it work, but Setup has been looking so good on this one. We'll see what the other pairing of carriers will be alongside it. 1xN still has that Jinx available that we've been talking about so much, but I do like this pairing between the Rel and the Viego. I think those champions work incredibly well together, and it's very easy with this triple of champions that EDG have right now to get that first kill in a team fight that Viego really needs to be able to pop off and make this champion work.
Oh, but we're just getting backline threat after backline threat right now from ThunderTalk. It's the Ambessa will go up to Hoya. The first champion we saw from Hoya in his ThunderTalk debut in the Demacia Cup was a game-winning Ambessa performance. What's really interesting, though, about this Bloxer is you love the pairing, right? You love Akali and Ambessa. They can play together. But right now, obviously there will be a marksman drafted to be the target. There isn't like a backline threat that ThunderTalk can go for just yet.
No, I mean, who are you going to be leaping on top of and trying to assassinating? I guess the Rumble? Like, that's not a bad choice for going on top of. But yeah, not going to be quite that, you know, standard, we're gonna go jump the MF. That's a very obvious carry that you're gonna try and go assassinate. Immobile, squishy, does a lot of damage, perfect target. Yeah, really isn't one of those available right now, as we do head on into that second round of bans. Are going to get the Feather Alistair banned out once again. Maybe today is the day when we finally get to see that Hook champion that we've been really hoping for out of Feather. To be honest, I would have been happy with Wink playing one as well. I just want to see a Hook champion between one of these two. But you do have that full bot lane to still pick up for yourselves, unless, of course, we've got something crazy with the Sejuani being the support. I'd be surprised if that's the way this has gone.
I would be shocked myself. I am intrigued that EDG didn't decide to jump on the mid lane counter pick in the first phase, take that freebie just yet. It doesn't cost them too much down the line because, you know, it wasn't two mid bans. The LeBlanc is a really good one from ThunderTalk. They take the Jhin away behind that. But you kind of left up Angel to get a bit banned away. His champion pool still pretty open, and it's rare that you get that counter pick on the blue side. So we'll see if EDG want a game plan leaning into Angel. The Vladimir, I think, was the plan if game 2 went a little bit better. Just didn't get rolling at all in that one. So might just go back to that well of putting Angel in the position to carry. Wow, this would be a Ooh, there you go. All right, so we're getting the
is.
Setab Akali next to the 1xN Jinx. These are Thunder Talk staple picks. I am worried about a 1xN Jinx game here because it's a very hard comp to play it into, as especially if we get, assume on a Kai'Sa pick or something like that. Do you like the Jinx in this game for 1xN?
It's not quite the it's not quite the game I was expecting for this Jinx. You know, I was expecting a bit more of a specific front line for this carry, and it isn't quite there. We'll see what the support is, I guess. I think I really need to see what the support is to be able to see if I like it.
We'll have to see as the draft rumbles on. Maybe a Kai'Sa pick was at least hovered here for Assume, but going to go with a bit of a safer pick here. I think Kai'Sa is very difficult to play into a close range comp in general. And this is where I love Renata's. I don't know about you, Bloxer, but I think Renata is a perfect counter champion. You could have hostile takeovers that just completely change fights, and what better comp to do it into than a Rel, a Viego, but
they swap away. They swap away. The second that you're really excited about it, and they immediately swap away from it. I like the Lulu more, to be honest. I think in this situation, when you've already got yourself the Ambessa, you've got the Sejuani, I think that pairing up this Jinx with something a little bit more supportive that can really help it to be able to survive a little bit easier, because you do have this sort of dive composition between the Viego and the Rel. Those two can jump on top of a Jinx very easily, and having that wild growth is going to help out quite a lot in terms of being able to keep her alive a little bit longer.
The Rise pick, though, certainly a shot call from Angel. Maybe trying to... As we continue back on to Summoner's Rift, the crowd once again leaning into LPL tradition as Thunder Talk look to edge even closer to an unlikely playoff spot in Split 1 of the LPL. But they've got 2 more wins to find that as we set up to a pretty neutral fan start. Curious to see if we'll get any lane swapping. Maybe this will be the traditional game we were waiting for here, Bloxer.
Potentially. It will be finally interesting to actually get to see 1xN and Assume in a lane matchup. See what these ADCs can do, what these supports can do. As we said, though, it looks like 1xN and Feather, they are going to be heading up towards the top side. Nobody wants to play a standard matchup right now. Everybody just trying to immediately head on towards other lanes. And let's see what happens with this one, right? Does ZDZ have a better time in this one? Ooh.
Oh, Beichuan. Luckily, Hoya shows up here because I thought they'd just dive in. Wink still wants to go in with Assume. They get the Ignite and on top of Beichuan, and he flashes immediately respect. So the clear already disastrously started for the Thunder Talk jungler.
Yeah, exactly what you don't want to end up having happen right here as a Sejuani. You already clear very slowly as this champion. You're not going to be able to run through your camps, not in the same way that a Viego can, so you're just going to be down in terms of the tempo already at this point. And we're also going to see, like we said, the lane swap, so you're going to be later to try to potentially make a dive happen, if that's the way that you want to play this one out. We'll have to see if that's going to be the case. Obviously, they've got the swap around this time where it's not junglers heading towards their bot laners, so they can play around the potential dives. Instead, going to be trying to dissuade anything like that from happening. But the pressure already right here from 1xN and Assume onto both of these top laners is huge, and these are top laners for whom I think losing this much CS, losing this much pressure is an issue.
It's an issue on both sides, and it's why I really felt like this game was the one to get those traditional lanes, because one, both top laners want to try and fight for advantages themselves, and on the back end, Xayah Rel is a bit of a scrappy lane, but Xayah traditionally likes to scale up a good amount, and then obviously a Jinx Lulu lane is fine handshaking a farm out. So I thought it'd be a bit more passive on the bot side, top laners brawling it out, but the most action we've seen is in the jungle as Beichuan's early game just goes from bad to worse, lost out on a couple of those Raptors.
Yep.
As Xiaohao just continues to power farm.
Just getting pushed around right now, potentially looking to stop that from happening by heading towards this top lane. Even without getting the dive kill right now, just pushing ZDZ back off of this minion wave, stopping them from being able to pick up as much of the farm and the XP as well is going to be impactful. You can see it's doing slightly better, at least, than Hoya, who really isn't being allowed to pick up any CS whatsoever. but still, it's pretty miserable for both of these top laners. I feel like we had that nice split last year, where top laners were really impactful, bot lane, mid lane, there were a lot less, they weren't on islands, it was who you were fighting around. That seems to have ended, despite the fact we've got interesting champions in the top lane. Once again, the islands have been returned, and they don't even get to fight each other.
Well, Hoya's looking for a fight onto Assume, trying to at least relieve some of that pressure. Doesn't want to force all in, doesn't know exactly where Wink is. Doesn't want to commit fully to any fights just yet, but Assume does have to be careful himself here. Hoya with full access to his early game kit with those dash resets could find himself on top of Assume, but Wink going to swing on back over as EDG look to really push the tempo here on this bot side of the map, shaping up potentially for a dive here onto Hoya. The minion wave is far from healthy though. You should just be able to cut this one down and survive another wave for now.
Yeah, it would have been a massive risk to have attempted a gank or a dive onto that bot lane. So we do finally see both of these bot laners head on down to their lanes, actually going to be in the same spot for once. Immediately the recalls come through though. We'll see if it is going to be a swap out once again for EDG's bot lane, or if they actually do want to stick around. They are at least going to recall, so you do get the potential option of moving back on out of this one. And having a look at the way that this early game has panned out, it's a pretty big CS gap right now opening up in this mid lane. We've panned over the mid lane a couple of times, seen Setab getting quite a lot of health chunked out repeatedly, and you can see it right here. Setab is just getting poked away constantly. This is how this range versus melee matchup works, but it's later on, once you get a couple of items under your belt and you can go assassinate people, that it's going to flip this matchup on its head. Setab just needs to weather the storm early game, not give over any solo kills, not give up too many plates, and he's going to be just fine.
There's a real push and pull between the Ryze and Akali matchup. Because even, once the ultimates come online and Setab has a rocket belt to kind of cut down the angle and get on top of Angel, yeah, the Akali really starts to shine. But Ryze is one of the oldest and most premier scaling champions in the game. So if it gets late enough, Angel can just take this game over with a fully stacked up, scaled up Ryze himself. So it's gonna be really intriguing to track when both these mid laners utilize their stronger points individually in this matchup. But we'll have to track that as it goes on, as right now attention gravitates towards the Grubs. Xiaohao secures the first one, so we won't get a monster slaying goal if Beichuan is able to steal one back away. There's the equalizer, lands on both 1xn and Feather. ZDZ forces both of them to flash, but they've got the Soul Laners following them with the Realm Warp. 1xn is cornered. First blood over to Angel. Beichuan jumps in, but a little far too late and gives Xiaohao a reset.
Wow.
EDG clean up house at the Grub fight.
Yeah, like you said, nobody's going to pick up that feat of strength off of it, but who cares for EDG? They're going to be more than happy with those 2 kills, picking one up onto your mid lane as well, and it's the Realm Warp that really helps this one out. It's very aggressive right here from Angel, just stepping straight up, more than happy to. A great equalizer as well, and the Realm Warp to keep this fight going. Getting that initial kill, especially onto 1xn, feels great, and then you can just grab Beichuan, who's decided to jump onto that backline as well. Multiple kills going over. You do get one back, but, I mean, it's so... Sorry, not get one back. You do get one grub back, but it's so worth it right here for EDG.
In a prime position, talked about how their early game has been the best phase of the game, especially for players like Xiaohao and ZDZ in particular, especially on champions where the R button is so pivotal, like this Rumble. Good to see ZDZ starting off on the right foot forward, because got to remember, he was the MVP of the Game 1 win for Edward Gaming.
And for good reason. Absolutely took over that game on the Cassante, looked brilliant on it. After having a great 1v1 performance as well to get the blue side EDG wanted. Really, really nice day so far for EDG's top laner. We'll see if he's able to continue this one on. We have got the jungler in the area right here for Thunder Talk. They're not going to end up going too far forwards at this point. It is spotted out, but I mean, Sejuani can gank from quite far away when you do have that Glacial Prison up. You can jump out of almost nowhere with the Arctic Assault. Managed to land that one potentially. We'll have to see if they decide to go for a fight. But right now, eyes set right here onto this Drake. And there is some follow-up right now. EDG are on their way over.
Realm Warp not available for Angel just yet. Xiaohao, does he have a way over the wall? They're just going to use that Glacial Prison to lock down Wing. Featherstorm out of Assume, but it's Setab to chase him down with the perfect execution on the backside. Xiaohao does steal away the Cloud Drake. So one back for EDG, but it's going to cost them a pair of kills. Gold for the Feats of Strength chase ends up being the trade.
Exactly. I like that play right there out of Thunderdog. It's exactly what I was expecting to see, right? Veteran just turns around, uses that ulti, is able to pretty easily pick up that initial kill, and you get to give a kill over to your two main carries. It's who these kills go to that is especially exciting for Thunderdog, and they can just turn this one. I mean, Rel is a tanky champion later on. At this point in the game, Wink just gets destroyed. It is unfortunate, though, that you do lose out onto the Drake. Being able to pick up those 2 kills and the Drake would have been excellent, but you can understand why Veteran felt like he had to just flash over the wall, run away. Stepping up in that situation would have likely resulted in his death and potentially losing the Drake anyway.
But like you called out, it's a kill onto 1xN and Setab. Alright, I like to talk about how sometimes with compositions from a damage standpoint, you have sort of bridge champions, and Setab in particular feels like this Akali can be that bridge, right? Because the Akali can function on really just with the Rocket Belt, maybe a second item for extra damage, can fall off and be a little bit more unreliable when enemies get tankier, it becomes more difficult to dive in. But that's when 1xN's Jinx is standing at the other side of that makeshift bridge alongside with Hoya's and Bessa.
Yeah.
We talked a lot about Thunder Talk is maybe draft gap themselves with some of these damage profiles. This game feels like staple Thunder Talk drafting, at least in the damage department.
Absolutely it does. You can use Setab to go and get those kills onto the squishies, like you said, and then just get all of that damage down between the Jinx, the Ambessa. These champions are supported so well by the rest of the composition. I really like what it is that Thunderdog have picked up for themselves as we once again watch these mid laners go at it. A lot of damage being chunked down and a lot of pings coming through from EDG onto this bot lane right here. They're potentially looking to grab a kill onto Setab, and they could even go for the dive right here. Akali obviously slippery, but
Oh, Setab wants to go in and at least try and find a trade here, but gets stun locked by Angel. The perfect execution nearly finds the kill, but a well-timed Magnet Storm finds that kill for EDG. On the flip side, CDZ gets caught himself by Beichuan. Another well-timed Glacial Prison locks up ZDZ to a gray screen and is going to grab them 3 grubs as well off the back end.
And that is at least another feat of strength going over so that Thundertalk don't have to worry so much about that objectives ones going against them. Bot lane, though, they are going to lose out onto this tower. It's going to be another feat of strength. That's 2. That is going to be everything that EDG wanted out of this early game. And the fact that you don't get that return kill onto Setab feels really bad. If he was able to pick that one up, it would have delayed the push in the bot lane. It would have given him a little bit of extra gold. It would have made that death a little bit easier to swallow. Instead, things go a bit wrong, and we get to see once again Thundertalk and EDG going toe-to-toe in a very close early game.
We'll see if the feats of strength victor ends up being the overall game victor so far in 2 games. Has held up, so maybe that's nice for all you EDG fans tuning in with us. But it's just going to be so exciting once this game really breaks down to team fights, because there are so many big moments for resets, tons of damage on both sides. I know we really hyped up Thunder Talk's ability to draft for where they're most comfortable play style-wise, but a Rumble, a Rise scaling up next to a Viego and Zaya. I really hope this game stays close the whole time so we can see who really can be the better team fighter on the day. But for now, all we're going to get is dives onto Hoya, who's been relatively quiet in this one. Has Cell Summoners, has the ultimate available. He's going to run away for the turn back with the public execution onto Xiaohao, but that wasn't enough to find the trade kill. There's more than enough damage for the EDG top side, and they find themselves a kill and more turret plates to boot.
Yeah, tons of gold being pumped into EDG's back pockets right here. They're up by about 1,000, although that will be leveled up a little bit by all of these plates falling in the bottom lane as well. This is an action-packed early game. Still not enough that we're not going to get a voracious Atakan. Right? Ruinous seems out of reach for teams at this level, unfortunately. But still, it is at least going to be interesting to watch so far. TP coming in. Oh, they're going to go for a big play here. Wow.
Here's the Setab Akali, getting a kill put on a silver platter here by Hoya. Xiaohao is far too low. You can flash all you want, buddy, but Akali will follow you from the Shroud. Shut down over to Setab, and Hoya gets his revenge on his EDZ. Great use of the Summoner Teleport from Thunder Talk to grab a pair of kills.
I love the way that play works, and you bring the Lulu along with you so that Hoya is under no risk of dying. The wild growth is huge. He's gonna get jumped right here. He doesn't get over the wall.
Beichuan cancels with the Arctic Pursuit and gifts the kill to 1xN. A mistake from EDG.
Yeah, and that loses them so much. You lose the 2 kills in the top lane. Now you lose your support in just a mistake. Doesn't manage to get over the wall. Good cancel coming through. Tons of damage being put down onto this tier 1 tower in the mid lane. And that space being bought for your jungler to be able to start up onto this Drake. They're trying onto this Infernal Drake already. It's going to be taken out nice and quickly. And that is going to be a very good look for Thunder Talk during this game. We were just talking about how EDG had a good couple of minutes, how they put themselves into a decent advantage in terms of gold, but that gets closed up almost immediately. And at 14 and a bit minutes into this game, things are feeling just a little bit on the edge for EDG, as they always do as soon as the kills start falling out of their favor. Because their team fighting has been so circumspect recently, it feels like they have to go into these mid to late game fights ahead, and you worry immediately as soon as they start losing out in the early game.
Are able to grab that top tier 1 turret thanks to the work they did earlier. Angel secures that one. We also have secured yet another Voracious Octacon. Your hunch was right there, Bloxer. We'll get another revive buff gifted to one of these 2 teams. And how powerful is it in general? We've already answered that, but especially in this game state, this draft between our 2 squads.
Yeah, I mean, because both of these teams are built around a carry who needs a reset, it is more impactful than ever. You've got yourself both a Jinx and a Viego, both of whom require that first kill to get themselves popped off, either excited or to get that body and really be able to run through these team fights in the way that you want to. If you are the team that loses out onto this Voracious Octacon buff, and you can't physically get that initial kill, that is just devastating to your chances of winning that team fight. It already sucks that you're losing out onto the recalls, onto everything else that buff gives you, but the fact that you can't stack up those abilities, you don't get those resets, makes it almost impossible to win into that individual team fight. So I think both of these teams are going to have to put a lot of focus around trying to pick that one up.
Oh, here we go in another top lane river fight. ZDZ chomps down on the Glacial Prison, does flash away, holds onto his ultimate, so 1 engage tool out of the cards for Thunder Talk, but it does grant them control of this top river. Good old Shelly looking to scrap herself, stepping up, but will reset with a full HP bar, and Thunder Talk turn their attention back towards that middle wave. Edward Gaming, maybe looking for an angle to step up themselves now. They've got a bit more control, going to lock down onto Beichuan. But he is the tankiest member, and they're allowing 1xN to fire through the rockets. Where his Setab, we see him teleport in and set up another deadly flank. One fell flat in game number 1 in that critical dragon fight, but this time he has the damage, he has the setup to pop off like we've seen him pop off so many times. Demacia Cup, LPL starting split. Does Setab have another Akali moment in him? It's Hoya to start out with the public execution, and Wink gets his health bar deleted, and the Rocket with the Shuriken gets the kill and the Rift Herald. EDG, they don't even get a chance to try and fight back here, but they might get one themselves if Thunder Talk want to keep pushing the tempo. Maybe a bit of an aggressive locket use there from Feather.
Hey, I like it. I like just trying to step on up forward, see if you can pick yourself up another kill. And I love the way that Thunder Talk walked through that fight. The way that they just split up the space, took up as much as they wanted, and just dared anybody on EDG to step up. And the second that anybody did, immediately getting taken down. That's now 3-1-2 on this signature 1xN Jinx. Really good to see, and with 2 items completed, this champion is well and truly online, and these team fights are getting trickier and trickier to play out for EDG already.
Once again, feels like they're just a little too hesitant with their go buttons, and it's partially because they're going to see in this replay, Thunder Talk have done a really good job at putting Wink out of these fights before he can even be that key engage tool.
Oh, it's just so nice. It's just so nice. Needed to just watch. Don't need me talking over that one. It's gorgeous. And that is, again, the joys between these 2 champions. You've got such a diverse way of putting your damage down. See if there's some drifting out of Feather right now. Not entirely sure.
Oh.
Yeah, just about gonna ding it into the corner of that wall. Doesn't matter. In the end, you're still gonna be able to pick up this tower. That's now all of the outer turrets taken down for EDG and Thundertalk, and they've got more than enough space to play around these objectives. Drake going to be spawning in 30 seconds time. It is Hextech Soul, of course, and that is a buff that you would really like to pick up for yourself. That Soul is incredibly strong. Setup in the top lane right now does have the teleport to come join the rest of the team, and I think if you are Thundertalking, you want to go and get aggressive right now. If you can get into an aggressive position, find yourself this fight right here, you're going to be in a good spot to win it out.
Dragons are even. This is going to be the first Hextech Soul we get. Hoya gets poked out pretty well by Angel and Assume.
TP.
So shouldn't be able to really find his way back to this fight. Does have his own teleport to come back in, just like Setab is using, but EDG have a window to just burn through this dragon. Doesn't have a ton of HP. It is just the third Drake of the game. And it will be secured there by Xiaohao, but they saw the Hex Gate over top of their head. Beichuan's trying to force the fight in the front end, and 1xN has the rockets firing. Kite's back well away from the equalizer, and Setab has Angel cornered. They cannot find a way out. EDG crumple. It's like shooting fish in a barrel for 1xN. His Jinx pick proves pivotal once more.
1xN, another brilliant team fight right there, and that's going to be the ace picked up right here for Thundertalk. They're also going to be able to pick themselves up this Atakan buff on top of that, and once again, poor team fighting decision making out of EDG. They had to go and try to play around that objective. I don't necessarily disagree with trying to pick up that Hextech Drake, but Thundertalk, they knew they had the advantage, didn't even try for the steal, waited to get everybody into position and just flew on forwards. In fact, they're not even going to take this Atakan buff, and I actually really agree with this one. You want to draw EDG into as many team fights as possible. That's where you're at your strongest, and that is just another potential place to go and fight around. Why take it when everybody else is dead?
It's just so clean watching Thundertalk and their tried and true champions still showing up no matter the opponent. It's the 1xN master flank, or excuse me, the Setab master flank, and the 1xN critical positioning. We've seen it against LNG a couple of times, and EDG now suffer the same fate.
And it's another triple right here. That's what, 3-4 of those picked up throughout the series for 1xN, and the Jinx really is so fun. We were hyping it up for a reason, right? This pick for this player is so huge, and this is what Thundertalk wanted. Yeah, they want the fight. They want you to have to walk into them. And EDG, they better execute this one perfectly. That's not a good start.
Oh, Angel does hold Setab in place, but they just lose ZDZ to the might of Thundertalk's damage. And 1xN is at it again. Nobody touching the Jinx. So it's time to watch your team burn, crumple, and fall by the wayside. It's rinse and repeat for Thundertalk. Another fight, another win, another ace.
There we go. That's why you leave the Atakan buff up and available, because it draws the members of EDG in. They feel like they have to fight for this one. The buff is just too strong to not contest, but Thundertalk are far too strong to really be worried in these fights.
Atakan got hands.
Atakan got more hands than EDG at the moment. Like, this is closer than the previous fight felt. Die? No, he doesn't die, but geez, is it close. That's going to be another big buff going on towards Thundertalk, and they are putting themselves in a great position to win this game too. Let's have a look back at this one, because it's just about drawing people in, and the second that Betran can go in and pick up that initial bit of damage right here onto the Rumble, that's a massive chunk of your damage just gone immediately, and then into the backline. Setab has been flying around. You can't even really talk about what 1xN is doing, because it's just auto-attacking, walking forward, spacing like he always does. Mr. Consistent on this Jinx, and I am loving the way that Thundertalk are playing.
It's the first game where we really see one team deny draft capabilities from the other, right? We talked about how Game 1, Thundertalk just put themselves in a hole with no damage. Game 2, EDG did the same thing without setup. This time we had a pretty even and similar draft. We talked about the resets between Jinx and Viego, the scaling factor of both these teams, but time and time again, Thundertalk are just it's like a deer in headlights for EDG. They
Yeah.
just cannot ever set up for an engage. Wink is always ulting defensively. It's defensive Featherstorms. We haven't seen a good equalizer since the first one from CDZ. And it doesn't seem like anything's going to change here as once again, Beichuan finds another beautiful pick. The Rocket doesn't get the kill, but at least sets up Satab to annihilate another victim. This time it's Xiaohao, hits the stasis, sets up his solo laner buddy, Hoya, who dives under the tier 3 turret, but who really cares? He's back to base. Thanks, Ruinous Atacon, and it's another inhibitor turret on the back end. Equalizer comes down from CDZ, will not find another one of those revives taken away. Instead, it's the first inhibitor of the game taken away by ThunderTalk.
And they could just keep on stepping up, despite the fact that they are pretty low right now. It looks
my
like
God.
ThunderTalk, they want to go in.
He's melting health bars, and he claims another one, gets the revive. That's not the same for Assume. He has to go to the gray screen. The power of Voracious Atacon on full display through ThunderTalk as they're going to keep forcing their issue, pushing their will onto EDG. Maybe now they finally feel a little bit too big for their britches, but not Satab. He wants the fast way back to base. And there you go. So does Beichuan. Look at them sacrificing themselves because they know the Atacon buff gives them a quicker reset. Now it's Featherstone. He says, sure, take me down. Somebody please put me out of my misery. But EDG, they're waiting out the buff. How long can they wait? I don't know how long it's supposed to last by this point, but Feather is maybe questioning his decision. He does finally drop without the Atacon, so EDG waited it out.
Oh my lord, I mean, this buff is crazy, and we're really getting to see it displayed at its absolute peak right now. The faster recall, saving yourself barely any gold given over to EDG, and they lose themselves 2 inhibitor turrets and the inhibitors to boot. And now, just like ThunderTalk want, they've got themselves a Baron to draw EDG in once again, see if they want to join up for another team fight. I wonder if EDG are just going to try start this because they've seen the resets come through, but it is still going to be a Hextech snap, so you've got the quicker reset.
EDG, they're really burning through it, though. They have the damage.
Steal.
But
Beichuan.
do we see a Beichuan steal? Already has 1 MVP under his
They
belt.
got it!
It's the
Oh!
Rocket from 1xN. What can't this man do on the Jinx? And now EDG are vanquished. Another ace, 3rd time's the charm. ThunderTalk are undefeated after dropping game 1. And they'll go up 2-1 in a series once more, just like their matchup against LNG.
God damn! ThunderTalk, they are gorgeous to watch when they are feeling themselves on these team fights, and this game no different. I don't know that people can be giving 1xN this Jinx anymore, but everybody on ThunderTalk popped off in this game, and taking us to match point has never looked so good.
It's a recipe that continues to bear one hell of a feat.